How real you want me to be?
Yeah, I want you to be real.
Okay.
The first few months during the administration was chaotic. I think that's fair to say.
It's definitely scary. Number one thing is 100% scary.
Change is what is the biggest risk for most businesses, because businesses just want to know what is the policy and then how do we navigate. So do you get a sense that we're now at a point where major disruptions and impacts is kind of stabilized?
I don't know. Whole Doge impact has absolutely really hurt small businesses. The majority of the contracts that have been canceled, cut, terminated for convenience have been for small businesses. You've really seen from clients opportunities go away. How are they pivoting? Some companies are not pivoting. It goes back to how well do your clients know you? And it's not because you're an 8A. It's because you do great work.
Right. You talked about relationships. Do you see any opportunities in this climate?
I want to be optimistic about it. For example, Coast Guard, they have a lot of funding coming their way, future programs.
So I wrote down Coast Guard, a lot of funds. Make sure we have that written down.
Yeah, I figured.
This is The Build-Up, a podcast by Procon Consulting. Whitney, I'm really excited to have you. Welcome to The Build-Up.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Before we get right into it, I thought it would be good, because I know there's a lot of activities happening with the administration, and you're the boots on the ground, and I know you have a lot to share, but I thought maybe we can give a little bit of context, background. What do you do? How did you get here? So maybe we'll just start with that.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Whitney Stowell. I'm the CEO and founder of Cribworks, which is a sales growth agency. We're really the catalyst from being an owner, operator, but also helping companies really grow their account plans, business development plans, doing strategic partnerships so you can ultimately win more business. I come from a background in sales, worked on the Hill, worked also for defense contractors, both large and small. And then I'll also help with startups as well. So I've seen the whole dimension of what companies really need to do to win. And then I've actually built out my own business from there. And then I've also worked on nonprofits as well, and sat on the board and still sit on the board for the Society of American Military Engineers for the DC Post. So that's a little bit of my background. Happy to always dive into.
Yeah, we're definitely going to dive into what you do. We're going to dive into your leadership role at SAME, but let's get to the meatier subject. We're almost, 7 months into the new administration. I know it's on the minds of many leaders, executives, owners of businesses. What is your overall take so far? Give us your report card, any insights, and then I'll ask more questions as we move along.
So when I saw the administration changing, a lot of what I was telling my clients and people within the even in the SAME community, I said, hey, administration is going to be changing. So number one thing I think everybody should be doing right now is really building your relationships with your existing clients now. Don't wait for changes, just build your relationships. If you know one person, know three. You know three, you know five. Know five, know 10. And build depth within the relationship, because changes are going to come. We don't know what they are, but just build deep. And we're really seeing an impact of that as how it's rolling out. You know, the whole Doge impact has absolutely really hurt small businesses. The majority of the contracts have been canceled, cut, terminated for convenience have been for small businesses. And then the impact of large businesses are, you also see if we're a large business, there's a small business component to that. So it's really a double effect on the small businesses. So
at a high level,
yeah,
I'm sure you had some, which I'm going to talk a little bit about the small business.
Yeah.
But at a high level, I'm sure you had some thesis going into the year. What were they? And then halfway into the year, are some of the things changing your assumptions, or are you having to reassess? What do you think is going to look like for the future? So give us a take on that.
So I will start with, I think I'll look at it internally, as a company should look at it internally, as well as where the opportunities are. I think from an internal perspective, relationships matter more than ever.
Right.
Externally, you've really seen from clients opportunities go away. all right, how are they pivoting? Some companies are not pivoting.
What type of opportunities do you think are have gone away?
We've obviously seen State Department change. You've seen USAID change a lot, but you've also seen on the infrastructure side, it's all right. There's been consolidation of contracts, a lot of consolidation. So where does that affect me? Where does that affect future opportunities? They're going on to existing IDIQs right now or existing contracts. Are you on those contracts as a prime or are you on them as a subcontractor? And if you're not, what relationships are you building right now? So I think that's critical for companies. If you're not in the position of teaming or finding new teammates, it needs to be a huge part of your growth strategy is to really be able to find future partners.
So you're talking a lot about challenges, which we're still going to get into about small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any opportunities in this climate?
I would say that a big part of that is a lot of companies are positioning to state and local. Right now, they're really looking at, hey, what's available at the state and local market, whether it's here locally or they're looking at other places along. If they're a company based here in Virginia, maybe they're looking at North Carolina, which is a very friendly state for business, or they're looking further down to South Carolina or going down to Florida or other states. I think they're really pivoting in that area. Data center work is growing at a huge rate. So they're just also looking at private sector work. They're paying faster. So I think there's a lot of pivoting on where the opportunities are, and they're not really looking as much on the federal side.
What other impacts are you seeing with the administration? You mentioned a little bit about the small business and how DOGE has made the impact in the marketplace. But what about anything related to contracting and changes in the Small Business Administration or changes in policies that you're seeing that has either created challenges as well as opportunities?
So with the DRP, with the people taking the deferred retirement plan, you see a lot of either contracting officers retiring or going to another agency. So is it already going to give a lot of overwhelming work to contracting officers that are still there?
Mm-hmm.
So, will that create bottlenecks? And I think bottlenecks is a really critical aspect to look at.
So you feel like the contracting activities have somewhat slowed down?
Yes, that's correct. So, we always want to make sure proposals get on time, we're compliant and everything. But that on the execution side are those contracting officers, really able to bear the weight of all the opportunities that are now on their shoulders because people have left or those positions no longer are there. So I think that is a critical part is where are the bottlenecks on the government side for contract execution? So I think that's a big one. The other part is the OTAs.
Could you describe OTAs for the audience?
Yeah, the other transactional authorities. So that's just another avenue for procurement. So it's really been set aside for R&D in the past, but other agencies from Coast Guard to NAVFAC to Army Corps are looking at that avenue as another way to actually push procurement. How can we do that? Do we have contracting officers that are educated in the ability to execute on future contracts? So I think those are different avenues that we're looking at, and the SBA and also agencies are looking at to actually execute on future work. Yeah, so there are a lot of changes that are going on, and on the private sector side, we have to be able to adapt to the upcoming changes on how we can actually be able to do future work with the clients.
The resources you're seeing bottlenecks and limitations. Any real policy changes that you're seeing? I don't know how much you're plugged in at the policy level, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
So the one, and I have you had my friend on here, Tom Williams, was it a couple months ago?
Yes.
And he talked about some of the policy changes, and there are upcoming policy changes. The ones that I've seen that, from the SBA, they have taken a hard look at the 8A program. They're actually,
what is your sense on the 8A program?
The SBA administrator and the Department of Justice are looking at the 8A program. They're doing an audit of the past 15 years of contracts. And I think that's really going to look at how they've been awarded, who's done the contract awards. So I think that hopefully they'll get a sense of what's happened there. So will policies shift because of the outcome of that? I think that's to be determined. And will that shift kind of what happens on the policy level?
Yeah, because it seems like to me the different types of contracting activities that are kind of at risk at the moment are some of the small business categories, as well as all the different classes of businesses, including 8A, but there's woman-owned, there's Alaskan ANCs, there's VA, veteran, SDVOSV.
Correct.
Any sense there that you're seeing in your dealings with individuals and companies and in their discussions?
Yeah, so that's the first one they've been very public about. So
The 8A?
Yeah, on the 8A, how will the domino fall after that? I think it's to be determined, and I don't want to make preconceived assumptions. What
It's
will
hard
happen
to
to
tell.
women-owned? What will happen to SDVOSB? There could be changes to that. So that's why I say, what will this audit review, and when will they do it? So,
what do you say to a lot of the businesses and companies that are in that boat currently? How do they plan for a risk situation like this? Do you have any advice for them?
it's definitely scary. Number one thing is 100% scary.
Yeah, for sure.
And it goes back to how well do your clients know you? And it's not because you're an 8A. It's because you do great work.
Right.
And you continue to do great work.
Focus on your business.
Focus on how great you are. What do you do well? And really understand what you can continue to do well. Ask for referrals. I think a lot of companies don't ask for referrals. Ask. Build on what client champions you have, and build on that. Don't rely on, well, I'm an 8A, general contractor does XYZ. Guess what? There are so many of them.
Essentially, focus on what you can. Do you see any opportunities in this climate?
I would say that a big part of that is a lot of companies are positioning to state and local. Right now, they're really looking at, hey, what's available at the state and local market, whether it's here locally or they're looking at other places along. If they're a company based here in Virginia, maybe they're looking at North Carolina, which is a very friendly team. Affects your marketing, affects what your business development people talk about. Not only internally, but when you're in front of the customer, when you want to upsell, when you want to make referrals. And guess what? You can improve it any day, but write it down. But that's a great way to work on your referrals. This is why we're so good. But get feedback from the client. Hey, I love it because you have 24/7 support. I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
I can call you at a Friday night at 8 o'clock, and I can get the CEO. And I know you could be there, Saturday. It's like, prices could be high. Who cares? But it's like, I really care about customer support. That is a huge catalyst for other things.
You talked about relationships. Like some of these, what appears to be simple, intuitive ideas are very hard to execute sometimes. And sometimes, like in events like this, this is what you go into. You go to the basic fundamentals of running a business. Get your head down, focus on what you're good at, and develop relationships.
Absolutely. And relationships take time. There's a compounding effect to this.
I like that, compounding. Yeah.
It's 100%. We are in the compounding world.
Absolutely.
The compounding effect of marketing, the relationships, the time, energy, and effort you put into trade shows and everything. It takes time, and some operate at different levels, some quicker than others. But it's a compounding effect. And when you have other people out there, building relationships, then it actually is a force multiplier.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. The toughest part is to start.
Do you have any wherewithal on like what's happening with the FAR and any of the changes that I hear it rumbling in the corners of GSA and other folks? Like I hear it, and you're the only person that I know that's probably more plugged into that type of world than I would be. So
I have a couple people I do talk to about the FAR. I'm not the expert. I will give you the expert, but there's been changes on the rule of two. And
What is the rule of?
so it's basically when there's an RFI that comes out, it's usually is there a company that can do the work? Do they have the capability? Do they have the technology to do the work? And the second one is, can a small business do it? That's usually a requirement. Now the FAR has been updated to really say, it doesn't explicitly state that is required to have a small business, but it really implies that a small business is no longer required from the update to the FAR. So that's been the big change, and that happened when the FAR was updated several months ago.
Okay.
There's been other changes as well, but I'm not the expert.
Any other changes that you know off the top of your mind or head?
No, those are usually that's the big change, because now any large business can go after opportunities. So that makes it harder for small businesses. There will be ones that are specifically set aside, but it doesn't require the government to be like, oh, does a small business have it?
Again, speaking from somebody that is truly just watching news from the outside as a consumer, not on the inside, knowing all the different inner workings and discussions that are happening. The first few months during the administration was chaotic. I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of people that were riffed. I know that our point of context, things were shifting. We didn't know if certain things would be placed on hold, if things would get canceled. It seems like things have slowly died down. I don't know, because businesses are, again, without having strong opinions one way or the other, but we just want to know, generally speaking, what is the policy, and then how do we navigate with a policy? I think change is what is the biggest risk for most businesses. Mm-hmm. So do you get a sense that we're now at a point where major disruptions and impacts is kind of stabilized?
I don't know. Honestly, I
You're still
don't
kind
know.
of in the unknown world.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is I want to be optimistic about it. Is there probably still going to be future changes? There's going to be future executive orders that are going to be probably going to be coming out. I'm making an assumption on that, and so I'm sure there's going to be additional changes that we need to be able to pivot on. So it is great to know what the changes are, so how we can adapt and find business and win business and execute on them. So what we have had to do is, and you as an owner, you've had to learn to pivot a lot quicker, right?
What type, like you're talking about pivoting from federal sector work to state and local, that's what you're sensing, and also into more private sector like data center and otherwise. Are you finding a lot of success with firms doing that, or what are you seeing out there? I
think there are some that they know that this is an investment, and it's the first thing I always tell them, like, this is an investment into this space. It operates differently. On the state and local side, there are different budgets, there are different schedules. Every state's going to have a different type of year. None or very few are going to operate on the fiscal year or the calendar year. Some are completely different. You need to know how they buy. The relationships are different. How the mayor operates. Is it a strong mayor? Is it a weak mayor? You cannot take the same mindset from what you actually did in the federal side into the state and local side.
Give me the contrast between some of the similarities and then also some of the differences, a contrast to the federal market and an approach to like a state and local market. How are they different?
Okay. So with say if you're going after a federal opportunity, the buying cycle, when if it's a program office, the opportunities that are coming, you can plan your capture, the different agencies, usually know who the contracting officer is. It's usually publicly available. And so you can start to figure out who the teams are, where you need to be, whether it's NAVFAC Washington, and you can kind of plan your
there's all of these schedules that you need.
Schedules, everything. It's very rudimentary on how you need to get into that existing cycle. So I think that's usually pretty straightforward. So let's say we go to California, and let's go to, say, I don't know, San Diego.
Different buying.
Different buying cycle. You want to know, all right, is it a standalone contract? Is it a state contract? If it's not, it's a local contract. All right, when's the buying cycle? Who's actually doing it? Is it from the city manager? Is it from the mayor? What are the local compliance rules like Title 84 and other compliance issues that you need to deal with? And I can keep going down on that. And you can still carry on like a capture, which I think is great because you need to understand the players. There are still very large deals out there.
It's just very different within the state and local government because there's
Correct.
extra requirements and things that you have to relearn and figure out.
Totally relearn. And sometimes on the state and local side, you got to have those state and local relationships.
Yeah.
So understanding your stakeholder map, when you're doing a capture, you want to understand who the buyers are. Right. But also it's a very much more localized as well.
Yeah.
But if you're across the country, never done work there, you can probably put a very low percentage of you winning. Yeah. So that's where it comes very critical on how you actually approach it.
What about, I talked a little bit about the schedule. I've also heard rumblings about consolidation of all the different various schedules. I think I read some article. Do you have a pulse on what is happening with that?
So we have seen some articles that have been released on some consolidation of schedules.
And also saying a lot of the agencies have their own IDIQs and all of that will be eliminated and they'll be consolidated under GSA. I think
So they have been releasing that as GSA will have a consolidation. And then other agencies have been using some of their schedules of where money has been going as well. For example, Coast Guard has been getting funding. They've been leveraging their some of their contracts that are out there, whether it's for A&E or whether it's for construction.
So, do you have any thoughts on that, on the changes that are happening related to that?
There's future opportunity and in Coast Guard because we saw they just won they have a lot of funding coming their way, future programs, and we're like, all right, they have future programs. I am looking to be a subcontractor. It's like, well, all right, well, look at their upcoming NMAX and RMAX, wherever they might be in the country. My recommendation is see if there are any one of the prime contracting holders you can actually have a differentiator to get onto their team. That would be my recommendation because there is future work coming. So
I wrote down Coast Guard, a lot of funds. Make sure we have that written down.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
I think a good segue to this conversation is something that I know you specialize, and that's B2G, business to government. There's a lot more rigor and structure, unlike the private market. Although the private market, depending on how large the entity is, has a lot of rigor and structure as well. Can you speak a little bit to that? There may be people listening in to this conversation that has never done any work with the government, but it is kind of a unique space, something I know that you specialize in. So I wonder maybe if you can just kind of give us an education on what that is like and what that is.
So if I was walking into this space, never doing it before,
yes,
it would be very overwhelming and not knowing where to go. So what would I do first?
Yeah.
My first recommendation is probably to
call Whitney.
Yeah, call Whitney, right? Yeah, I would call Q. But what I would probably first do is I would spend a lot of time just reading about the industry. And I would ask them, do not try to capture every single agency. Just focus on one. What
would you recommend that they begin reading?
So let's pick a product or pick a service. What are we going to focus on? CM. We're going to focus
construction management, engineering. Yeah.
What type of engineering?
Structural
engineering. So I would want to know, and that's what they want to be a small business.
Let's say you have an established business.
Got it.
You've been predominantly working in the private industry, and you want to go from B2B
to B2G.
Gotcha. To B2G.
So I would find somebody that I know personally who already does it and ask them how they did it. because I would want to get it kind of a one-on-one. How do I do this?
Find a mentor.
Find your mentor. You can get a one on the SCORE program. Then I would go to a trade show that's in my respected niche. I just go check it out. You probably have to pay to go to the show, but it's like, come check it out, see what everything's
Maybe
about.
go to an SAME, SBC.
Come to a SAME event, or
Small
if you
business
want to go,
conference.
come to a
That's
local.
an excellent conference for you to get your toes wet into the federal marketplace.
Absolutely. So find a mentor, and talk to some friends, or have a friend recommend you someone who's already in the space. Ask them how they do it. But come to a conference and just talk with people. So you get a kind of a situational awareness of what you're walking into. Because if you start bidding on projects, you don't know how it all overall works. What's the legal side? What's the compliance side? If you talk to a contracting officer, they're asking all these questions. You don't know what to do. You don't want the door to shut before you even get in. So like, just come to a show. That's what I say when people have asked me. It's like, well, what do I do? It's like, just come. More than likely than not, as you know, the SAME community is very open. They make a lot of it great introductions. That's where I would start.
Now, how long have you been running your business?
So I started officially a month before the pandemic. Great timing.
So just
right?
a little, fine. But you've been kind of in this space for quite some time. And in the times that you've been in this space, in the industry, what sort of changes are you seeing in terms of like the government? You know, it's amazing that even in the last 5 years, I see a lot of changes, but I'd love to get your perspective.
So I definitely see going to in-person events a lot more. People are trying to really find the time to go when there's decision makers at an event. You can definitely see the investment. Like, oh, I know I need to put my face somewhere. I cannot hide behind a proposal.
And I know that, you know, our company, we've been doing this for celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. And I've seen quite a bit of change the way when we first entered it. You know, the big thing was, hey, you got to get on the GSA schedule. And if you don't know how to get on the GSA schedule, you got to get one of those highway bandits to get you on the GSA schedule. And those are the kind of things that we were hearing. And, you know, we got on the GSA schedule, and then we're like, so what's next after that? Well, you're going to have to now bid on these opportunities. And I've seen it evolve from a simple GSA schedule into, well, it wasn't good enough just to be on the GSA schedule. You had to figure out a way to get on an Oasis contract.
Get on Oasis, get on
you got to get on
C4D.
all these additional schedules.
And you keep getting all the other ones. And it's like, well, why are you telling me to get on these schedules if I'm not actually getting any work out of it? It's like what everybody else did.
Right.
It's like, but where's the actual work? It's a hunting license. You just get the hunting license, and then you actually have to go execute against the task orders against it.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, it's great to get that. But it's like, it's literally, you got your moose hunting license.
Yeah, it's grown to what used to be a much smaller group of hunting licenses, in your analogy, to like 1,000 hunting licenses in order to operate in this B2G environment. And then if you wanted to do state and local work, you had to also get on other little G hunting licenses. And I think what I'm seeing now, and I'd love to get your take on it, is that maybe the pendulum is now pointing in the other directions where they're getting rid of more or less some of these extra hunting licenses, and they're trying to consolidate. But in the end, like, man, we spent all this time trying to get all these,
a lot of money.
Like, it's fine. Let's get rid of them. I don't have an opinion about it. Obviously, I don't have a say either. But like, tell us, what is it that we need to do business with the government?
I think that's probably a good way to look at it, because you're right. There was a lot of push to say, hey, you need to get on GSA schedule. You need to get on C4D. You need to get on all of these, regardless if you're in IT, you're in AE.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was
you can't. The biggest thing is that big companies were prevented from pursuing big opportunities because they weren't on this schedule. They didn't get this done and they didn't get that done. And now it seems to be that they're consolidating. But yeah, I think a lot of the audiences, I would imagine, just wants to know, like, what are the schedules that we need to get on, or what are the IDIQs that we should be pursuing?
Right. But that's also, well, just because you're on it, they consolidate it. Are people actually doing work on it?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Are they actually, oh, great. Now they're going to push a task order out on it. And with that is, with all the contracts that were canceled, that were doged, now everyone's going to be going after a lot of opportunities that do come out under an existing contract.
Right.
So it's going to be fiercely competitive now.
Right. So you have to get your license.
Yes.
And then now you actually need to go hunting, and the hunting techniques are way different than a hunting technique that you would apply to a traditional B2B market.
Exactly. You're not going with a bow and arrow. You're actually going with a full kit and everything. You have camouflage.
By the way, I don't hunt.
I don't hunt either. I think that's just the way to look at it.
Yeah.
It is a license, but guess what? You still got to do the work. Yeah. So from a business owner perspective, it's great. I spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and now I got to actually spend more time. Do you want to invest in an account manager to be able to go out and invest in this? So it is also an investment in a business decision on what do you want to do. Now with all the consolidation, could the opportunities be bigger? They could. Are you going to stay on there? I don't know. Yeah, that's where we'll see what happens as we move forward.
Let's talk a little bit about your company.
Okay.
Cribworks. You know I love that name. I wonder if you can just share your story of how you came up with that name, and maybe talk a little bit about your roots and where you're from.
I'll start with the name. So I picked the name Cribworks. So I grew up in a logging family. So our company worked in the woods. We had a lumber mill, and Cribworks is an old logging term. So the way that the trees, when they fell, they had to be transported from the forest to the pulp and paper mill. They would flow down the river, and then eventually they had to get into a rail car or a semi. But the way they got out of the river onto the rail bed was there was a mechanism that would straighten them out and then put them on there. It was called a Cribworks. Mm. So basically the metaphor is, I'll take your ideas wherever you are, how discombobulated they are, I'll help you straighten and align them so you can get on your way.
So perfect segue to tell us a little bit about your company, how you help AEC companies align their strategies with winning work in the government sector.
Sure. So when I started this company, I was at my last company, Signify, which used to be Phillips Lighting. And at the time, I was a capture manager and doing business development. And we brought in a large consulting firm, and they were really to be there. It's like, hey, here are future opportunities that you and the whole team can go after. And here are people you should contact, the opportunities. And it was really the company mentioning what we should do. And after we did that exercise, I was like, you know what? I can actually do this. But I'm also bringing it from the side of, I know what my senior leaders want. I know what the CEO is looking for. I also know all the way down to even what an intern goes through when they got to do, the research. So I've done the full gamut, whether it's a large firm or a small firm. And that really kind of kickstarted me into how can I help clients really be able to build what they have, whether it's a product or a service, and really be that change agent for them. So it's really the relevance in the market, and it's also the go-to strategy in the market. And I think that relevance is a pretty powerful part. So that's kind of where I really wanted to be able to apply myself. And I stand shoulder to shoulder with all my clients. So I'm actually not just telling them and recommending to them what they need to do in the short and long term. I'm actually there with them and going through the chaos.
So you truly do everything from strategy to like knocking on doors for your clients. So cradle to grave.
Cradle to grave, but then I also have an ecosystem of partners that I can also, if the client is looking for additional services or they have a specific need, whether it's anything from digital marketing, digital security, ransomware, legal counsel, I have a network of vetted experts that can actually help them really be able to grow as well.
Where did you get this entrepreneurial, like everything you're saying, just conveying this entrepreneur spirit? I don't know. Where did you get that? Is that something that you always had, or is that something that you kind of fell into?
I think it's a bit of,
Like, can I say one other thing real quick? Like,
yeah, go ahead.
I took a call the other day. Well, I took a meeting the other day with a person that I met on LinkedIn, and we sat down. We had like a very long conversation, and he asked me sort of a similar question to me, and I didn't know how to quite answer that. So I'm throwing it back to you to see if you can answer it better. Like, where did you get that entrepreneurial spirit? Because you seem like you did this, you can do it, and you just went off on your own. And probably not the best timing, right? You said a few months before the pandemic.
God, it sucks. No. So how real you want me to be?
Now I want you to be real.
Okay. I like your style. So I think it's two phases, or maybe three. So one is my dad was a little bit of an entrepreneur. And what he did, and it was definitely seen the good times and the bad times. That's what as you know, running your own business, there's good days, there's bad days, there's even worse days. And then, when something comes through, it feels like you're untouchable. And then you're like, all right, you got to keep your head down.
What anchors you during the bad days?
I think my girlfriend anchors me, for sure. She definitely keeps me sane, and so I definitely appreciate her for that. But also I've learned, through playing rugby and everything, one of the things you're always taught is to stay humble through wins, through losses.
Count your blessings.
Yes, is staying humble about it. But, there's always an up and down. So I think that's one thing I've always had to learn. And we had a former All Blacks coach. And he said, you have to learn how to go to those dark spots when you're training. And, sometimes it feels like you're in those dark spots, but you got to keep building out of it. But yeah, so like my dad had a little bit of that. I always wanted to see what it was like, but I wanted to see what it's like working for a small business, working for a large business, working for a multinational company. But when I had the opportunity to be like, you know what, I want to see where this can go. And I just decided to just do it. Like, there's never a perfect time to start your own business. So I think that was part of it. The real hustle came, I graduated college at the height of the economic crash. And, there was no jobs.
2009?
Yeah, 2008.
2008,
yeah.
Okay.
There was no jobs anywhere. So I stayed with a family friend outside of Boston. So I was lucky I had a roof over my head. But I lived out of a suitcase. I slept on a kid's mattress. And yeah. So,
I could imagine what that would be like.
It was awful. I worked at a bar, and then I'd finish at like 4 a.m. And then my brother lived in Boston. I would hope the door would not be locked at night, so I could sleep on his couch for a few hours and then go back. And so that sucked. I don't know how else to. And it's like, I had to position my way out of it. So it's like, you have to grind. You got to grind, you got to grind, you got to grind. And finally did it. And so that's what I think the hustle just came after and just kept going.
Do you think the experiences that you faced shaped you to be the person that you are?
I think it was like, I'm not going to give up. So I think that combined with, I just don't want to go back and sleeping on a kid's mattress. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But that's part of it. I mean, that's why I also named my newsletter Hustle in the Darkness, because all the work we do behind the scenes that people do not see, all the hours you spend traveling to events, to the work to put the proposals together, meeting clients, everything. We do so much work behind the scenes, away from friends and family and everything. So that's where the hustle came from.
Well, I find your story fascinating because you're working for not so much in the engineering industry in the beginning, but you kind of pivot in there. I first met you at an SAME event, the one that I believe you started, which is the small business conference at the National Capital Region here. Is that
at the Capital One Center? Yeah. So that was, I can't remember what year that was. That was like their 13th annual or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was, I was the one who put that on. And others, but I was one of the ones, yeah.
Others. And so president of the SAME, Society of American Military Engineers, of the DC chapter. And so I wonder if you can speak a little bit to that in your role, and how did you get to that?
So when I was at Philips, started at Philips, a large healthcare and lighting conglomerate. They never really focused on doing business with the public sector. So myself and I think it was 2 or 3 others, we helped them really grow and do about $100 million worth of business in about 24 months. Prime, sub.
What was that like, finding success at a...
Yeah, it was great to have a senior leader that was really engaged and had your back. His name was Joe Robinson. Joe was great to really have a support to guide us, but we focused on different avenues and to be able to grow with Philips. Part of that was, strong government affairs, strong prime to sub, to thought leadership, getting the word out, and we were able to grow. But also within the thought leadership is what are the organizations we need to be a part of, and not just be a part of it, but actually like truly embed yourself into. And over the years, myself and my prior boss, Vince Ridgel, who's now over at Shepherd Electric, but at the time he's like, hey, we need to be part of the SAME community. And Vince was a huge advocate for, hey, get into being active. So at the time, there was a young professional spot open on the board.
And how young were you when you had this? It sounds like an amazing mentor that's kind of coaching you along.
Yeah, Vince was great. Vince and Joe were great. I was probably 30. Yeah, I was in my early 30s. And I knew that in order for me and for the business to really get authentic relationships, they were all in the SAME, they were in like AUSA, they were in all these communities. But for SAME specifically, that's what we needed to be. So I just said, hey, there's a young professional position open. And I guess I have the bad habit of saying yes
to everything.
Yeah. So I decided to say, get in there. And I didn't care. I was going to do it. That's
not a bad habit to have, saying yes to everything.
I
think when you're young, my advice to a lot of young people is to say yes to everything. Like you're going to get more out of that, any experience.
Right. Well, eventually I moved into second VP. I had to do the small business conference, which is always the biggest conference for in the area. And we've grown that every year. This past year, we had over 450 people. And then there's other events that we do.
And then you're also in the same class as our own Sally Clark.
Yes.
Leadership Mentorship Program.
That's correct.
Which I love. I mean, we send quite a few people through that program, and they just do a really great job. Can you maybe put a little plug in and what that was like for you?
Sure. So this was, I think Sally and I did it 2016, I think. That was last year that Dr. Bob Wolf, who was the former executive director for SAME, did it. But it was a leadership class to talk about really taking your next step in your career with really looking at all avenues of what a leader should be doing within your respected, whether it's in the private sector or public sector, learning more about whether it's marketing or business development. And so I think it was really just gives them a holistic view on growth. So I think it was really great. And Sally and I had a great time. We still keep in touch.
What was one thing that it helped you going through that program that has shaped you to be the person that you are today? You
only get Sally this question?
No, I will.
Okay. Running a volunteer organization is incredibly hard. Oh, that's what Dr. Wolf told me.
What makes it so hard?
You have to motivate people without money. And I think I need people to show up. And so how do you tap into an inner part of an individual who's, yeah, I'll show up. I'll show up at 7 a.m. and lay out registration cards that I'm not going to pay you for.
It's the thankless job.
It is 100% a thankless job.
So maybe this is a time where we say thank you for all the people that are spending the extra time doing all the jobs that don't get recognized. And they're like the most important piece.
Everybody in the background, yes. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
It takes a village.
It
really.
takes 100%. It takes a village, and it pays off because you get to meet people. They want to know who you are. They're like, okay, like you're not just here to give me your business card. You're here to understand more about the industry. And a lot of people talk with the volunteers, and they want to know who you are, what you do, whether it's the speakers, whether it's government or private sector. They know you're putting in time here. So I always recommend to businesses, like if you're in business development or you're a C-suite, you should be actively involved within at least one nonprofit.
Me too. Big advocate of SAME. Give me a compelling reason why a business would want to be involved with SAME.
I think it's one is to be with some of the leaders within your respected industry on, not only helping promote the overall industry, but also sharing best practices, helping advocate for maybe new ideas, fresh ideas, finding out where their gaps are so we can help promote the AEC in general. So it's not a place to be selfish. It's really to be selfless. And so you can be like, all right, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're promoting it. So you can share the best values and moving forward. I think that's a great place to do it. So that's
share where all the great ideas, like-minded people come together.
There's incredibly knowledgeable people there. And it's definitely a place where I think a lot of people don't feel like they're the smartest people in the room.
Yeah, the smartest and the brightest, the most motivated people gather. And that's
Correct.
the kind of place that you'd want to be. How do they get involved?
How do they get involved? They go to SAME.org. And they find a post that's near them, or chapter, we call them posts, near them, or they can reach out to someone that they know on LinkedIn, and just come to an event. Like come to a local chapter event, a post event. Sorry, I'm going to get chewed out because I called it a chapter. I know it's going to happen. Local post event. Yeah, so that's what I would recommend doing.
Well, Whitney, I feel like we've covered a lot of topics here. We've covered your fresh take on all the different activities going on with the administration. We talked a little bit about your background and your story and your firm, and obviously your entrepreneurial leadership mindset and how it kind of took you into a different path. I think you're an important member, not only in SAME and the world and the work you do. You're important to us. I value your thoughts and opinions, but I wanted to give you a chance to kind of give some lasting remarks, maybe a little plug-in about your firm and what you do.
Well, hey, I definitely appreciate coming here. I definitely enjoy listening to it. So thank you again, Q. So no, if you'd like to reach out to me, feel free to go to cribworks.co, and then you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. And you can also check out my weekly newsletter. It's called Hustle in the Darkness. And every week I provide actionable sales insights that you can use, whether it's on the executive, the sales, business development, or on AI. So it comes out every Tuesday. So check it out, Hustle in the Darkness. But yeah, I look forward to catching up with people and keeping this going. So again, Q, appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Build up episode 20.
20?
Yeah.
20 is the episode for people that always are challenged to get over.
20?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So 20 is literally the
For our
challenge.
20th episode here, yeah,
I'm honored.
the most important episode, as I
Absolutely.
understand. Right? You
Yeah.
said 20. Well, we have to get over 20 first.
Oh, so no pressure on me. Okay.
Yeah, you got to deliver here.
Oh, jeez. Okay. I think I can do that.
All right.